On today's episode, we are working on the front sway bar setup for the track car. So AWR is continuing to help us out and partner with us. If you look at where the front sway bars mount, it's not directly to the chassis like you would think. They actually mount on a bracket that's kind of flimsy looking and not very confidence inspiring. This is a video on Racing Beat's website showing a Miata during an autocross underneath the car, and you can see that bracket flexing as this car goes around the course. I'll speed this video up so you can see it. It's a little easier to see at speed. Now over time, those brackets can flex, fatigue, and break. So we definitely want to prevent that from happening. A lot of kits out there put a wedge underneath that bracket to give it a little more rigidity. This bracket totally removes that equation and replaces the OEM bracket that Mazda made. And it completely takes out any sort of potential flex that is there. So the steps today are cut off the OEM brackets, install the AWR brackets, and then finish with putting on AWR's front sway bar. So as I get underneath the car here, the first step is actually removing the stock brackets. Now there is 4 bolts on either side of the bracket itself, but there's also spot welds, 1 on each side. Now don't mind that damage right there. Race car, right? No big deal. So you gotta take off the nuts on both sides. That's the first step that you're gonna wanna do. And then you're gonna see there's this circle spot weld in here. You can kind of see it right there. And you're gonna wanna drill that out. Now this is a little bit of a dance where you gotta drill in a little bit and then pry it back. If you've got a spot weld remover, that'd be really easy. I'm going at it with a chisel here, but you don't wanna go too hard because you can tear away the steel if you're not careful. You really gotta make sure that you're drilling enough in there and not tearing that metal. As you can see, I just made it pop. Once you get one side, the other side's gonna come off really easy. You just wiggle it free and it'll pop right off there. No big deal. There might be a little bit of a burr left over. I went back in with a grinding wheel after to make that flush. Now the next step can be a little tricky. Friend of the channel here, Ryan, who's got his own YouTube channel, link down below. He actually does an install video that's, in my opinion, better than ours. And man, great shirt. Nice looking shirt there, Ryan. But no, he went in and installed a similar set himself. And you can see it could be a little bit of a struggle here. He's hammering them in. Stefan had a little bit of a different technique. He actually used a floor jack and jacked them right up. It is a tight fit, and that's a good thing.
After some finessing, the sway bar mounts are on, so they send you hardware and all that stuff's really nice. And these things are beefy. I mean, I just installed a set on Dylan's car too. An empty bay so you can see it better. So these are fully boxed in. I mean, I was lifting the car with these things when I was installing them just to make sure they were seated right and they didn't bend at all. So these things are stout. The nice thing that I didn't know about this sway bar is it has these stops on it. A lot of times you can buy these, like I know the Racing Beat bars, you can buy collars. The fact that this is welded in already makes it super nice, as opposed to, here's the Racing Beat setup that has these clamp collars on it. This is slick. They send you nice polyurethane bushings with Zerk fittings already built in, so you can grease this whole setup. So this is a solid product. Definitely gonna recommend this moving forward. Tons of adjustability with the 3 holes in the end. So a little tricky because we have the under tray on, so I hope this works. I'm gonna try and snake this in through underneath. If you don't have the under tray, you just push it right on up. Let's see what we can do. These have a split. Just separate them, pop them over the sway bar, and if you press it up against that stopper bar, it locks it in place. There are 4 bolt holes in here. We're gonna use the outer ones closest to the wheel well. It matches the spacing on the bar. So we're gonna toss it in there, and then we will do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll work with spacing it front to back. So to make it easier to line the other side up, I'm just gonna drive this one up. Not all the way, but just so that it helps the angle a little bit. Since these plates are slotted, it's It's nice because you can line everything up. Okay. And onto the other side. This side is on, this is the driver's side. Tightened up, and I put it in the middle of the slots on both sides. Plenty of clearance in here. I can fit my whole hand in there. And you can see their logo right there, which is pretty cool to see. All in all, really easy to install, especially if you've used those Racing Beat support plates. This is much faster to install, and like popping it off, trackside or anything's gonna be really easy. So these are the Endlinks from AWR. They're adjustable, and what's cool is this side is a left-hand thread, and this side is a right-hand thread. So when you have it installed in the car, if you want to adjust your tension, all you have to do is spin this centerpiece and it will shrink or lengthen the overall end length, so you can get your preload correct instead of having to like undo the sway bar, adjust it, put it back together and test it. So big fan of reverse threaded end links, and they're spherical, which is also nice. There's 3 holes on the sway bar. We'll call this the inner, the outer, and then obviously the middle. Full stiff for the bar is going to be your inner hole. That gives you the least amount of moment arm on here, and then full soft would be all the way out here. We're gonna go full stiff, giggity, as always, in the front here. You'll see that the angle of the end link once we install it is not up and down, so I'm gonna actually adjust the sway bar forward to account for that a little bit. These rubber spacer pieces, they have a little metal channel inside. That goes towards the spherical, and then this just goes right through the bar with a washer on one side, like that. Washer on the other side, and then the backer nut goes over here. This is in, as you can see, actually it's a little bit tipped forward. So I'm gonna loosen the bolts on the bar and slide it back to try and make this vertical. I don't know how much of a difference that makes. It just feels wrong for it to be one way or the other. So what I was talking about earlier is if you turn this and you watch the bar, it goes down. And if I turn it the opposite way, the bar goes up. So when you are setting this car on the ground and you have the suspension in, this bar under load should be parallel to the ground. And then there also should be no preload, like both sides you should be able to essentially slide this bolt in and out. And that's how you know that the end links are correctly set and equal. Because if one side is tight and the other side is loose, then there's preload on one side of the bar and you don't want that. The bar is bolted up now and mounted solid. You can see the end link is vertical and in both orientations, so it's not tipped in any way. I did have to adjust the bar left to right a little bit. Those stops give you a little bit of adjustability, which is nice. This is solidly bolted in. All of the hardware is 14mm, which is really nice because you don't need like 6 different wrenches to adjust. A lot of times, aftermarket hardware comes with like 15s and 16s and stuff like that. This is Miata sizes. It's Miata itself, so everything fits and works perfectly, but we do have the same end links for the rear. We're just using a stock Miata sway bar, but I don't have rear lowers installed right now, so I can't show you that. But we are using their adjustable end links for the same reason. It helps with the lowered ride height and all sorts of things like that. You'll see these again when we set the car down and do like a kind of at-home alignment. Big shout out AWR. Thanks for sending all this stuff over for both this car and Dylan's car. You'll see some of Dylan's parts in a couple months when we start working on his car, or start showing you what we're doing to his car. That's a wrap. You guys know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you guys think of this. What kind of sway bars are you running in your car? And what benefits have you seen from running a sway bar? We'll see you next time in a week, so stay tuned. And thanks for watching.